Episode 79. What's up, guys?
Yeah.
We had some communication issues there. Sorry for coming late. I forgot to press the button.
What a good thing to happen on an episode about communication. Yeah. Also, I read that this morning because I, as per usual with me, check our what we're doing 5 minutes before I'm here. I read it as communism, and I was like, wait. I was like, that's relevant.
Yeah. When we pretended to start a minute ago before I pressed the live button and I thought we were live, you were asking me if I had a switch, which can be interpreted a bunch of ways. So communication is hard,
yeah, communication's tough, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can start wars over misinterpreting that shit. So good morning, episode 79. We're talking about communication.
That shit heavy. Good Lord.
Hey, it has happened. And I need to do a shorty today. Maybe like 45 minutes, and then I got to split.
I got piles of crap I'm working on.
Yeah, I got to run up to Jacksonville. So how's everybody doing this morning? Real quick. Hold on. There is a post over in the Coffee with Den lair. And nobody ever does this, but there's a button where anybody can join. It says join live. So you should do that if you want to. I'll allow me to demonstrate.
I like how this episode's about communication and you go, hey, how's everybody doing? Real quick, let's go over here, not listen to anything.
Don't answer me. Don't answer me because I'm going to interrupt. I'm going to interrupt you as soon as I ask you to say something. There it is. Join live. So pop in if you want to. All right. So how's everybody doing this morning?
That's how I get here every day. Same. Ow! Sorry, I just crammed my fingers into my monitor. Jesus.
John, you're back in New York. You have been for a little bit.
Yes.
I was gonna say.
How's that?
It's just like another statement. It's the air is breathable. The weather is nice. The outside
surprisingly
is it's nice. Things are good. Just still out here applying for work and I'm getting by, doing good things.
Is it less tan outside with all the smoke being gone for the most part?
Oh yeah, it's gorgeous out. Look at that.
You.
Very nice. Very nice.
You're welcome to come visit whenever you want.
I know, all right.
You know, I don't know if this was related, but I was playing Cyberpunk 2077 a couple weeks ago when it was
remotely related.
When it was yellow in New York, and there was a what do they call it? Night City. It was exactly the same in the game. I don't know if that was there before. I don't remember it from before. I played through it a lot.
That's wild.
It was like super hazy yellow. It looked exactly like the images I saw in the news from New York. And I was thinking, like, did they push an update to make the atmosphere like New York City? Because it looked super dystopian, super like what's the word? What's that? The movie with Harrison Ford and the androids, the Dream
Blade
of Electric
Runner.
Sheep. Yeah, Blade Runner. It was very Blade Runner-y, which was perfect for that game. So I don't know if that was a thing or just the timing of me noticing it, but
damn it! Now I need to. I keep saying I need to play through Cyberpunk, but now that you've made a comparison to Blade Runner that for some reason I didn't make before, now I really want to play Cyberpunk.
It's fantastic. It's really a good game. I don't care that it had a shitty launch and they had to pull it from the PlayStation Store a year or 2 years ago. Like, that was a long time ago. It's awesome now.
It's like how people are still mad at No Man's Sky when it's great now. Speaking of which, somebody brought in a computer yesterday that I have a picture of to show you. Somebody took the time to like airbrush the little Atlas symbol on the side.
Oh, nice.
No Man's Sky. It's so good too. Like, it was really well done. Yeah.
I wasn't super into I bought it and I tried playing it, Cyberpunk. I don't know, I wasn't super into it.
You gotta be like ready for some sci-fi dystopia.
I think I just didn't get far enough into it.
Maybe.
Also, there's like so many things to do. I feel like it's a little much.
Yeah, so I recently did 100% run on all the quests and everything. And that's what I was doing. I was wrapping that up a couple weeks ago, and I did all the things. What I would recommend is ignoring everything except the main quest line, the main storyline, because it's so good. Keanu Reeves is so freaking good. The animation is great, looks just like him. Johnny Silverhand, and
Good name.
his voice acting. It's like, I don't know, like it's like a better Neo, but
It's pretty
not
good.
magic.
I remember when it came out.
Not magic.
I played it when it came out for. I got probably about 10, 15 hours into it. I got into well into Keanu Reeves being in your brain and like, just appearing in your apartment and chatting with you about how he's like, I'm kind of sorry I'm eating your brain.
Yeah. So that's the
so-
beginning. That's all the
yeah.
beginning. And then
I got
after
to
you,
that point, and then I had like nothing but the performance issues that I ran into were so ungodly that I just couldn't. So
Yeah.
now that it's all fixed, I could probably get around that. Plus, we have mod packs to make things work better. So
yeah. It's definitely a lot better. It definitely helps to have a beefy computer it's still very intensive on your machine. And I don't know, it's got multiple endings and stuff. And once you finish that, you go through and do some of the gigs and side quests and stuff. I was amazed at how many of those were also with Keanu in it. Like he kept recording, he kept doing voice, acting through the whole thing.
Like you can be like, hey man, like call him, like, hey, you want to do this very minor voice role, and he'll be like,
they have an expansion coming out too. They just announced an expansion too, so that's cool.
Wow, that's late game. I'm pleased that they decided instead of like let's rush whatever expansion we were already working on, instead of actually fixing the game, they were like, let's fix this shit show first, and then we'll make an expansion instead of every other company on the planet. Which is exactly what Bethesda's going to do with Starfield. I'm so ready for it, but I know that that's exactly what they're going to do.
We should just talk about video games every time. That should just be.
God damn it.
Because three of us love video games.
It's so bad.
Yeah, give it another shot, John. That's what I think.
I can't play Cyberpunk yet, though, because I have to dedicate at least 150 hours of my life to Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh, okay.
Which I have attempted so hard to just play the main story of, because like I've got like the 4 little things to go do and the one person I got to go talk to. He's like, yeah, I got to go do this. But they give you just basic tools to fuck around with the world, which means like I'm there stuck by a mountain for like 6 hours because I want to figure out how to make a hot air balloon that can fly to the top of it without me having to like do anything.
Sounds like
I can't make any progress.
Yep. Sounds like what I do.
It's exactly what I wanted it to be, though. Just like get me lost in a game. It's been a while since I've been lost in a game world.
Hey, David, you have studied up on hieroglyphs and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like you're relatively familiar with that. I was reading about like history of communication and like writing and like speed of transmitting information and things like that. And I saw this theory that spoken language originated with onomatopoeia, like buzz for a bee, and like you would make the sounds that you were trying to imitate to convey.
God, yeah.
I'm talking about this, and you do hand gestures and stuff. And it dawned on me that like that's kind of what hieroglyphs are. They're like the onomatopoeia of written language.
It is that is, you are so on the money. It's not even funny. Do you know what the Egyptian word for wine is?
Bottle of wine?
No, it's erp. Because it sounds like burp.
Oh, got you. So
their entire language, from what we know, their language really, like in at least the writing sense, was absolutely like that. Like symbols being used to just convey sound, and we didn't realize that for the longest time, which is why we couldn't decipher the damn thing, because we thought it was all pictographic. Because it makes sense to be pictographic. They're pictures. But yeah, pretty much everything on there turns out that it's like phonetic to a sound of some other thing.
Yeah, it's you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I mean, the very first written hieroglyph that we're pretty sure ever existed. This is crazy to me because, like, you can look at the Nile and there's little spots on it where civilization starts to bud. You get little tiny tribes before you get like Egypt becoming a thing. And you can see like some of them, they all have like clay jars. Right? They've all figured out clay. They've all figured out how to make jars to put water in and how to fire them and all that crap. So some of them figured out a little bit earlier than the other ones to designate what is in each jar. They were like, okay, water does this. Let's just draw a little wavy symbol on here. So like you can see
It makes
where
sense to
those
me.
started.
If you're trying to figure out how to write shit down, it makes a lot of sense to me. And I was looking at some of them where it's like, regular people are depicted with normal human heads, and then the gods are depicted with a godhead, some
Yeah.
sort of like animal godhead.
Something
And I
ethereal,
was just
something
thinking,
that
like,
would be wild to them.
a lot of people interpret that with like a modern way of thinking, but realistically, that's just a way of differentiating the characters, saying, no, this is a leader, this is a god, this is a, it doesn't mean there were hybrid human animal people.
No, they also did. If you ever look at like a tomb wall as well, you will always see that you have one or two people that are huge depicted by, as compared to the rest of the people there. And then you'll have the gods, which are much larger. So they did this thing where they would make the scale of something larger depending on their importance. So like, you'll have pharaohs that are, much taller than their army behind them. You'll have like Anubis standing high above him and everything. So they even use that as a way, communication-wise, to convey the importance of a person without you even needing to be able to read the language.
Oh,
So
like
that
how big of a person they
because
are.
almost everybody in like ancient Egypt could read in some sense, right? They couldn't read or write hieroglyphs. That was a priest language. But they had a demoted script, which was like, small, almost cursive looking, sort of a blend of like Greek and, phonetic sounding hieroglyphs.
Yeah.
So most people had something like that. So like even if you couldn't read the priest language, you could still go into a temple and be like, oh, look at this massive picture of Anubis and know how important that it is. And like you can convey that as a type of communication non-verbally and without having to even know the language.
Gotcha.
Herodotus talks about that in his very overly zealous and very exaggerated.
I love the names too. Names used to be cool.
Herodotus. He is a fantastic historian. If you take him with like an entire bucket of salt, not a grain of salt, like a whole bucket. He talks about seeing priests do magic and shit. But he also depicts like saying, I can't read any of this stuff, but I can tell how important some of these figures are just because of how their artwork is done, which was mind-boggling to him at the time.
Cool. Super cool. Hard to transmit though, right? Yeah. Hard to like carry messages around.
Little difficult
if you're carving it on tablets and stones. Papyrus,
genuinely. Well, they had papyrus, but when it was important enough, they would do these things called stelas, which are just big. They look like our modern gravestones, but they would have like the hieroglyph writing on it and the the demoted and then Greek. So like if it was important enough, they would dead ass move a huge ass piece of stone.
Yeah,
and that's actually what the Rosetta Stone is. That's why we were able to decipher it.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
Greek, demoted, and then a huge chunk of hieroglyphs where a chunk of it's ripped off. But we were able to figure that one out.
So the reason that I'm so interested in this kind of stuff is, and anybody who's a blockhead or a like decentralization nerd like me is already going to get this, but the idea of having a communications infrastructure where you can say whatever you want to anybody who's willing to listen to you without asking permission and without somebody like collecting that data and selling it. And also just the idea of like shared operation of a network where nobody controls it for the same reason. That's such a recent evolution of what communications and like transmitting ideas has been doing for so long. So like I was thinking about hieroglyphs and I was thinking about messengers, people on horseback, couriers carrying messages around. And then we got into this arms race, really, with nations basically using it as a weapon of war, messaging, signaling, transmitting like troop movements, even like civilians being able to prepare for invasion or something before they get there, that kind of thing. And we still kind of do everything the same way as when we moved from hieroglyphs and pictograms and stuff to written language and then signaling, right? So signaling is just like smoke signals or flags or binary in computers are still signaling ones and zeros, flash twice for yes, flash once for no, that kind of thing. We just do it really fast now.
That's a thought.
But I want to show off one thing that I think was really cool. There's this way of sending messages that were a little bit more like the challenge is sending messages really quickly, and also being able to transmit a bunch of information in a message, right? Which is hard to do with like yes or no, a signaling like, okay, whenever I do this, it means that kind of thing. So the Greeks came up with this idea of a hydraulic telegraph. Have you ever heard of a hydraulic telegraph?
No.
Yeah, I have.
I was fascinated by it. It requires like a lot of coordination, but basically imagine two signaling towers on hills so they can see each other, and they've got each of them has a bucket of water with a stick in it, and the stick has notches for different messages, right? And it might look like something like this. And so what you do is both of you has a bucket with a floating stick, and it has a drain plug at the bottom. And if you want to send the message, it has to be one of these several things that are already on the stick. So you raise a fire to say, hey, I want to send a message. And the person on the other end of it raises a fire and says, okay, I can receive the message, ready to receive. This is the same shit we do in computers today, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is eerie.
Yeah. So the other one raises a message. Okay. And then what's fascinating to me is this is where like time gets incorporated. So the other one raises another one, and then you extinguish when you start pulling the plug or something like that. You signal again whenever you plug the plug back in. So basically you drain water, you both ends at the signal starts draining water out of the bucket at the same time. And then you signal again to stop. Okay, stop draining. And then both of you will have drained the same amount of water out of the same size bucket, and you can check what the message landed on. And then you do it again for the next message.
That is insane.
Isn't that cool, though?
I
thought it was clever.
Heard of this thing.
John, so you've heard of that?
Yeah.
Described
well,
in
I'm
the
impressed.
4th century? Yeah, I'm impressed, too. Good God.
What did you hear about it, John?
I heard about it in warehouses. So you'd use a forklift to lift and lower things.
Signal across the aisle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's how you do it. Really, the first person to master this, in my opinion, was Peter Frampton.
Oh,
yeah,
the first.
It
took a long time after the Greeks
to master it.
Master it.
You know, he's the only person that can really communicate with weird squeaks and stuff. Honestly.
Wow.
But yeah,
So stupid.
art.
God damn it, John.
Art does convey information that is really difficult to reproduce in written form. Like looking at a painting and getting a feeling out of it. Problem is, not everybody gets the same feeling.
That's
like,
good.
How do you transmit a feeling? You know,
you don't. You like. I think that's the. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I'm a big art person. I mean, if you can like, this my back. That's my living room. You know, like, and like I think you're not like. It's not the artist's intention to make you feel a certain way. I think it's the artist's intention to say what they want to say, but then what you get out of it is fine. It's the art shouldn't be about the artist, right?
I was gone for like 15 seconds.
Congratulations.
Are we now on like a whole discussion of art theory?
No, I was just talking. Well, kind of. We're just talking about how like not pictures, but like paintings and art can convey things that are difficult to transmit in a standard like written communication way.
Oh, yeah, that's actually badass. I want to plug somebody really quick because of that. Not like murder them, but like plug a channel. There's a really good YouTube channel called Baumgartner Restorations, and he takes paintings, like legitimate, beautiful pieces of artwork from like the 1500s, and does like restorations on them. So you get to see like how they clean them and how they restore them and how they fix them and everything. It's fucking fascinating.
Hopefully it's better than that one. Remember that painting that got restored and it was like somebody just doodled on it?
The poor lady. She wasn't even like an art restorer lady. She was just overzealous and started and was like, I shouldn't have done this. I got to unfuck this, and just couldn't unfuck it. I think it looks better that way.
Shout out to Bad Hair Club and I Am for AM. So, smoke signals, and then hydraulic telegraphs, and then
That is wild.
yeah, right, and then electric telegraphs, right?
I don't want to like give them ideas, but back to this hydraulic thing. Hold on.
Sure.
Why
Okay.
have the ancient aliens people not picked this damn thing up? Like, this is some shit that I could see them being like, there's no way they could have taken copper and made it round. It's just fucking crazy. Like, why have they not made an episode on? They may have, for all I know.
Maybe they have. Maybe we should.
Oh, I would love to do. Can we do like a satire ancient aliens episode? That would be so good.
I feel like that'd be the one episode I'd be good at. Is
You're good at all of the episodes.
there's been one episode of World Blockchain Roundtable where I was a guest and not a host, and I was good. And that's the one where it was like wrong answers only. I think
Oh
that's the
yeah.
topic.
Oh yeah, that's perfect for
And
you.
everybody thought I was giving real answers. I'm like, no, these are stupid.
Like, no, I'm doing
You're
this
like,
to be an
oh,
ass.
This sounds believable. I think the question was like, are we living in what was it?
A simulation? Because yes,
No,
we are.
Are we like in the past the industrial age? I don't know what it was. It was something
The
weird.
ancient aliens people haven't ruined it yet. I'm so happy. Okay.
Those are always awkward episodes for me. That one and like people don't know how to handle it typically. Like it's like I'm super guilty of not having a humor radar, right? Like wait, is this a joke or is this a joke dar, right? It's like or is this
Yeah,
is this
you
awkward?
definitely you pull a full whoosh sometimes.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, that's fine. Like, there's nothing. I don't know. There's nothing wrong with that. That's part of the fun is the fact that like what people say is hard to tell if it's true or not, right? If it was super crazy, then it'd be like you're just nuts. But it's funny when there's like that hint of truth and there's that hint of
Is
satire.
this guy crazy? Like, I can't tell if he's actually believing what he's saying.
Yeah, I totally thought that your shirt said gluten tag.
Gluten tag. Yeah.
Oh, that's better than what I thought it said. I thought it said gulag.
Yeah, no, it's not gulag. It's a
Like,
gluten tag. It's you know how people wear the
Gluten
medical bracelets to let you know what their allergies are and stuff. This is like, please tag the gluten, so I know it's gluten tagged.
I felt there's somebody the other day.
Actually says gluten tag y'all.
That's real good, actually.
That's the most Florida shirt you can have. You buy that at Epcot? You get that at Epcot?
No, actually, I got that from my wife's mother. I think
It's great. She got it at Epcot.
from my German half of the family.
She got it at Epcot or Amazon.
Yeah.
This is somebody's canvas side hustle.
Or maybe it was my wife. It was one of them. It was one of the German side of the family people.
Probably don't mistake those two.
Yeah,
That's
don't
a
mistake
bad
your wife
thing.
for your wife's.
They're similar people, but I don't know. I don't mistake them.
So I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were like, "I'm gluten free and vegan and vegan." I'm like, "Great." And then
So you don't eat animals and you don't eat a lot of plants too.
she's like, I don't eat. She's like, that's fine. There's plenty of people. I live in New York, so like, there's plenty of people like that. And I don't know if I was insensitive or not. Going, do you drink? Because I feel like if you're gluten free and you're vegan, you're probably doing this for like health reasons, right?
Like,
Oh,
And,
okay. I
like,
see what you're saying.
And booze is like poison. It's literally poison.
Yeah.
Oh, so it was a curiosity thing. It's like, interesting.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
She's a friend of mine. She's a good
Yeah.
friend. I see her every week for hours every week, and I was just like, because we were gonna do like a cocktail thing at my house. I'm like, but do you drink? Like, what can I make you?
Yeah.
What can I prepare for you?
And like, she's like, well, as long as the booze is gluten free,
Yeah.
and vegan.
Okay.
She's like,
No, I understand your line of questioning though, because vegan, okay, could be moral, could be diet, like Terry, like that kind of thing. But then you throw gluten free in there, and it's like, oh, it's probably not moral. It's probably diet, more on the healthy type of things.
And she's a
so
trainer.
It's like,
she's a professional. She's a
see,
personal trainer
there you
as
go.
well.
So it's like, do you do unhealthy stuff?
Well, she could drink anything. I was like, in my head, so I'm like, I've seen you drink cocktails.
Yeah.
So you can't drink booze, beer.
Beer. Yeah,
Does
yeah.
grain alcohol count?
Well, there's also you can make vodka with potatoes. You can make
That's true.
apple
Vodka,
cider
potato.
instead
I've
of
got-
beer, that
I've
kind
got
of stuff.
vodka made from tulips.
Tulips?
Badass.
I've got tulip vodka.
See,
Thanks to by the way, thanks to Dave's line of questioning and our text chain of making cocktails, I went and picked up a little bottle of New Amsterdam gin, and I've been enjoying some gin and tonics at the house lately.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, John, thanks for the recipe, by the way. John has a recipe. I mean, you should throw that video up on Den, actually, over in the Creature Comforts layer, because that was a good cocktail that you taught us to make.
You made us a video.
Mm-hmm. So that's made from tulips?
Yeah, made from tulips and grain, but it's made in Holland.
Huh. I didn't know. I guess you could make vodka out of whatever's around, can't you?
Made from tulip.
Whatever's around that you can ferment and then distill.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, we've learned over the years you can turn pretty much anything into alcohol.
Yeah.
It's pretty good as humans. Well, I mean, we used to use it to not die, too. You know, brewing beer was way safer than drinking water. And it also had chunky bits in it, too. For you.
Oh, the fruit bucket is old and rotten. Drink it up.
Drink that fruit bucket. Here you go, kids. I got you a rotten fruit bucket for dinner.
But I asked her, and then she's like, the only thing I can't drink really. She's like, I don't drink beer. And I was like, can you drink cocktails? She's like, yeah. The only thing I don't really drink is espresso martinis. And I was like, and in my head I go, because of the beans? Like,
that's a weird.
So you drink alcohol.
What a weird thing to specify that you doesn't drink, though. Like, as long as you're not making me an espresso.
What was the answer, though?
Good.
No. It was because a lot. She's like, sometimes they have cream in them.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's what I said. Because in my head, I'm like, well, I'm one of the few people that do that. I feel like because if you go to a bar, an espresso martini is espresso, simple syrup, and like vodka. Usually, it's not. And like
I would
like
probably add cream.
But like I do that. That's what makes mine like actually like really good. Is I add like really cool like cream liqueurs to them, but that's not standard in like a standard espresso martini. Because if you think about a shot of espresso, it's a shot of booze, like a shot of espresso. It's a shot of coffee. Usually, you can have like a cortado or something that has the cream in it, but it's not standard. You know, a latte is espresso plus a bunch of milk. Like, so it's. So yeah, I felt really dumb asking, like, is it because of the espresso beans? Like,
is it because of the beans?
And then they're like, no, idiot. What goes in coffee a lot? Yeah.
She's so sweet. She didn't call me an idiot, but I feel like in her head, she's like, I gotta explain this shit again. Okay.
Like,
once again,
100th time I've done this in a month.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Yeah. And I make really good espresso martinis. So like, I was a little disappointed, but that's cool.
If I ever need to like have a bartender for an event, I'm just gonna be like, "Hey, John,
I'll fly down, please."
Hell yeah! He just wants an excuse to come down. Oh, I might get a dog. Side note, just real quick, I'm excited as hell. There's this little lab mix that is adorable, and I've got her currently being checked out to make sure she's good and potty trained and all that. But if all that goes well, I have a shop dog.
Far out, man.
Wait, her name is a dog for the shop? Are you gonna bring her home?
Oh, of course, yes. You know, that question, when Sunny was here, the shop dog, we genuinely got that question all the time. Like, does she stay here? It's like, no, she goes home with us.
Just like we do, yeah.
Yeah, like I go home, she works here. So it feels weird. It's been like a year or so of not having a dog run through the store. It's just not right. So
I love my dog. Everybody knows it. He's the sweetest. But if I didn't have a dog, I wouldn't get a dog. 100% would not get a dog.
Oh, yeah. I don't necessarily want the dog for home. Like, I have no real desire for a dog at home. I just want a shop dog, right? But Jackie, my wife, we met this dog, and it walked up to her and laid across her legs. And I was like, oh, all right, well, I'm screwed.
That's it. So, no more choice. That's it. The dog claimed you.
But just
like, so cute.
It's their decision.
But think about, like, people that come in with, like, dog allergies.
Yeah. They shouldn't come into a store with a dog then. Sorry.
That's one way to do it. That's one way to do it.
I will cater to the needs of pretty much anybody, but if the dog is way back here, if they want to complain about it, they can just get over it at that point.
I had people over for cocktails like a couple weeks ago, and one of them, I thought they were all cool with dogs. I was like, none of them had allergies. I thought I was like, all right, cool. And he walks in, and Minnie goes over, and she's like, I love you. Here's my attention. And he looks like visibly concerned. I'm like, oh, what's up? He's like, I'm scared of dogs.
Oh,
Just scared because like as a kid something happened, and he's just
he's
I'm
so
terrified of
perfect,
dogs.
though.
I get that a lot because I have a Rottweiler.
Yeah, but like
You have the kindest Rottweiler I've ever met.
You do have a very kind Rottweiler, but I was like, how do I trick you into being okay with my dog? Because like I don't want to put my dog away because you're scared of her. I want to put my dog away because like you have an allergy or something, like something bad like that. But like, dude, she's the fucking sweetest animal in the entire world.
At some point you have to say, no, trust me.
Yeah.
Don't be a weakling. Put up with the dog. I promise it's fine.
If I hold her the entire time, will you be okay? Like, but then I don't want him to feel uncomfortable in my house either. So I just don't know. I just didn't know what to do. I'm like, okay, we'll put her away because you're fucking scared of dogs, but it's fine.
Yeah. It's dogs, man. Some people got bit by them and then they'll never recover from that. Yeah. So we're on a real-time video conference broadcast to whoever wants to listen in. And that's super cool. I've always been fascinated. I wanted to tell you, John, about why I love this decentralization shit so much. Bad Hair Club makes a point about, you ever see Johnny Mnemonic?
Yeah.
Where he stores stuff. He wipes out his childhood to make more space for storage and that kind of thing is what Bad Hair Club's. I don't remember that part of the movie. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I remember he was over capacity. So there's always like issues with, like you have a giant file. Like where does StreamYard like store all of this stuff? It's on someone's computer somewhere, right? Yeah. From that hydraulic telegraph, once we hit the electric telegraph, we were really off the races, and shit went really, really quickly.
And it went wild right after that.
Super fast. But the whole thing, every step of the way, there was always like some company or some government or some controller that was like a centralized, this person sort of owns that network. You know what I mean? They all had their limitations technologically, but they all had this similar sort of incentive structure. People invested in it. People profited from it. People could shut it off if they wanted to. They could cut the wire for the telegraph. They could jam your signal if it's wireless. And then the NSA can snoop on everything, that kind of thing. And what I think is fascinating about what we have today, even though it's not widely used yet, it's like, the first telegraph was connected between DC and Baltimore. There was just one line, DC, Baltimore. And over time, that became the telephone and then this that we're doing. So today, we've basically got like the DC, Baltimore telegraph of decentralized communication networks. And what I think is fascinating, and maybe, I don't know, I want you to tell me if you think this is neat or if it's just something that I'm a nerd about. The idea that a network can exist without it being owned by anybody, so that it's just like ubiquitous. Like it's just the network that exists. It isn't like Twitter where somebody can turn it off. Yeah, you can talk to people on Twitter, but somebody can turn that off. And it isn't like Google Cloud Storage where you can store all of your videos because Google can just turn that off, that kind of thing. To me, it's the first time where it's almost like humans have evolved this communications technology as part of, like, if it was ants, and it was just like they were transmitting across the globe talking to each other, it would just be a part of like ant evolution. That's kind of how I'm looking at it, to where now we have this layer of everybody's sort of instead of it all being one monolithic system, everybody just runs little bits and pieces of it all over the world, so that if any one or like even a bunch of people turn it off, the other ones are still there. It's like this mesh net of if it dies over here, communications can be routed somewhere else. So you can't turn it off is the idea. You can't turn Bitcoin off. You can't turn stuff like that off. It's just a network that exists.
What if we bomb the planet? Like if we nuke the whole planet, does it turn off?
Well, I think we turn off as well.
We do too. Yeah. You can turn us all off, and then it gets turned off.
We're pretty good at that.
But because it harnesses this fundamental greed that humans seem to have, it incentivizes people. It's software that incentivizes people to do a thing, right? So it harnesses greed to say, if you run this little piece of code and just leave it running, you'll get some residual income from it. That's the first thing that Bitcoin did. And then magically, without having to coordinate anything, without having to directly pay anyone and figure out accounting and stuff like that, anybody could just spin up a node and exist on the network and then transmit messages back and forth. And it created a living system that just exists. And we've never had that before. So I don't know where that's going to go, but that now is being applied to data storage. You look at library like Odyssey that we're also on, and it's just pinging off different random people's computers, and they're sharing bandwidth and storage, and it's all it's just there. It isn't in a location where somebody owns it, profits from it. Everybody that's running those systems do profit from it a little bit.
It's got no magic button though.
Instead of one person profiting a lot of people profit a little bit, which makes it resilient, which makes it almost just invincible. So am I just super nerdy about that, or is that really interesting and will change everything? What do you think about that as a turning point, or is it a turning point?
I want to see it as a turning point, but I got to see where it goes to do so. Just like the brain of skepticism that is with most people. I have to see where it goes. Yeah, I totally think that it lines up with a jump in communication, or even just a jump in how we just not even just communicate verbally or things like that, but with this data storage and data information being moved around autonomously, if you want to use that word. It could definitely be something that could be considered a revolution, something along the lines of industrial revolution, computer revolution, things like that.
What are the implications of that then? Because that's where I'm stuck. Is I see how technically different it is, and I see how resilient it can be as a basis for infrastructure. But I'm wondering what are the implications of decentralized infrastructure if we apply that to everything? What if we apply it to solar panels, right? You have a network where you can distribute power in a decentralized way, and you apply this to it to, I don't know, somehow incentivize people to keep that network up. Somehow apply this. Right now it's applied to information, right? But even with information infrastructure, let's just keep it there to keep it narrow. If you decentralized information infrastructure, what are the implications of that?
The problem is then you have nobody to hold accountable if something does go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I think is the thing.
People like accountability.
We all want somebody that we know we can point the finger at.
Yeah, when you say when something goes wrong, you mean if it breaks and you can't send your message, so
sure,
you don't. Okay, that's very true. It is flaky right now, especially. It can be really flaky.
Or what if I can't find the thing?
Right, you store your video, you store your files on there, and then all of a sudden your files aren't there anymore, and you've lost data. Who do you blame?
Or let's say I just can't find the thing because I'm dumb and I don't know how to find it. Who do I call for tech support?
That's a good point.
I guess you go to class.
You have to think about it.
I don't know.
You have to think about it like this too. So exactly the same thing could be said. God, if we even want to go back that far, 35 to 40 years ago, with how does any of this stuff work with the internet? Who do I call if I can't communicate with this computer across the country? It starts that way.
You're in a position to see that a lot. You're in a computer repair shop. So how many times do you see people hey, my computer's broken because this website doesn't load anymore? Oh no, that website doesn't exist anymore. They took it offline.
Yeah. all the time. I have people who frequently have like software from 2003 that they still want to use, like, textbooks and stuff, but it's just a disk with a link to it on it. And then
Mm-hmm.
like they click the link and it goes to a dead website and they're like, this doesn't work. And I'm like, you are correct. It does
Like
not.
an old user's manual that has a telephone number for a business that's not in business
I
anymore or
use
something.
that so often to explain that, like, it's like if you were to call something out of a phone book, but you've got a phone book from 1995 and it's 2023.
So
So like
so
the
you
numbers
take
aren't.
that weakness and you apply it to things that do still exist.
Yep.
It's like now all that happens with systems that are operational and there's no tech support line. That's an adoption problem. And it's a I guess it's a usability and adoption problem.
So there's an edgy. So basically, like with everything, you have to educate. So if you think about like a marketing cycle, right? And I know you got to go in like a minute. The most difficult part is the beginning part when you have to educate the public on what it is. So everybody knows how to use a cell phone for the most part, right?
Right.
Right. But it took a while
For the most part, yeah.
The majority of important people in the world know how to
It
use
took a while.
right? It takes a while.
Yeah, adoption takes time.
So it's
Except our SEC chair, who apparently doesn't know how to use a BlackBerry.
Oh my fucking god.
Anyway,
so
that
yeah.
was just a.
So yeah, like that's what I would say is like, it's just gonna take a while for people to like understand what it is and how to work with it and where things are and all that kind of shit. And it's gonna take old people being okay with not knowing how it works and being like, hey, this is a thing I don't know and I don't understand, and that's all right. Because as you said with your SEC chair, it's like, hey, here's a thing I don't know. Or like people or in government or whatever, and be like, I don't know and I don't understand. Hey, Facebook, can you tell me why Google does this? Well, this is not how that works, you know? So it's just going to take a while for that to happen. And at some point, adoption will probably happen because it's just cheaper and easier, as long as somebody doesn't go through and try to buy the rights and make something sound cool with a name. It's the only other thing.
There's something else that comes to mind is the idea. So right now, like I'll call it the legacy system because I feel like that's what it's going to end up being. There's this idea of you can store something once, pay for it once, and like it's going to be there. Whereas these new systems are very real-timey, very dynamic and like living, where you almost have to feed it like a pet. Where like if you store data on it, and I'm talking about like things like SIA and Filecoin and Library and stuff like that, where you almost have to like treat the network as an organism and continue incentivizing it to store your data. Otherwise, the network's not going to care about your data because it doesn't get anything from it, right? So people that are on these file storage decentralized networks, if you want to use it for file storage, that's one of the things is like there's no guarantee that there's nobody to blame, there's nobody to hold responsible for losing it, and so there's no guarantee that it's always going to be there. And the best that you can do is continue adding rewards to anybody who stores that data on like a daily or monthly basis, like a trickle of incentive to like, hey, whoever stores this data, you get a share of my trickle of like cryptocurrency, that kind of thing. And so realistically, that's just going to create a marketplace for data where, there's incentives attached to data if I want to store it. So yeah, okay, there's only 2 people in the world storing this particular data. I'm going to store a copy of it too so I can get a cut. But if now 50 people are storing the same piece, they're all getting 1/50th instead of 1/3. So it's not as attractive to duplicate that data to store it. You might go find something else that's less widely stored. And so you get this like organism of a network where it's incentivizing people to store data for the network or send messages or whatever, where the most profitable thing to do is to add resiliency to, underserved messages and data, if that makes sense, right?
So somebody's got some data stored up there, and then essentially, you have other computer systems around the world tied to these networks that want to go ahead and store that data too. They can see, this person's data has been backed up 30 times, so the cut's going to be worse.
Yeah.
I can go down here and store this guy who's only had it backed up like 3 times.
Yeah, think of it like BitTorrent, right? If you go on like the Pirate Bay, you can sort by how many people are seeding a particular file. If there's 1,000 people seeding a particular file, there's not a lot of benefit in adding more seeds to that. That's plenty, right? It's more valuable to the network to go find something that's not very many people seeding it, download it, and then you serve it up, and now it has 3 seeds, and now it has 5 seeds. That's more valuable for the network. And so you take that concept and you add incentives to it with blockchain and cryptocurrency, and boom, you've got a global storage network where you incentivize storage of stuff.
That's wild, because that's the first time that I can think about something where you have a system where somebody can look at it and say like, oh, this person doesn't want to back up my data. And it's not because like they don't want to back up your data. It's because probably 30 other people have already done it. Mm-hmm. So like people not wanting to back your shit up at that point for you is kind
or you're not willing to pay for it, you know?
Yeah, or like it's like I don't want to pay you enough to back that up. These people are already doing it. It's fine.
Yeah. I'd rather take the $5 a month that I give Google and give that to 5 people that can keep a copy in case any 1 or 2 of them go offline.
See, we should glue. That's the same thing as like how I have a safe here that has a bunch of my data stored in it, as well as at home. It's just 2 different spots. Sia's really a cool concept, and like that was a really good way of explaining some shit.
So, yeah, it's like BitTorrent with incentives to.
It's like piracy, but less piracy.
Well, I mean, like the Pirate Bay has legitimately, there's uses for BitTorrent that aren't Pirate Bay. Linux ISOs. You know, downloading an operating system instead of pulling it from one server, you can get it a lot faster over BitTorrent.
Oh, yeah, I usually do
that kind of thing.
That's the only thing my torrent clients are used for ever.
So anyway, yeah, I do have to split. John, what do you think about all that, man? You got any?
I think
because you're a very intelligent person, and you're not like a tech weenie all the time like me and David. So I always find your takes really interesting. Yeah, we're both nerds, man. We're just different type. We're all nerds. John's just a different type of nerd.
I think it's great and super cool, but until it's easy for me to use, I think adoption is going to be the hard part.
That's the big one. Until it's easy for a normal person to play with, it's hard to.
And also for you to show me exactly how I'm going to use it, because as tech weenies, you have a lot of tech weenie things, but like I play video games on a PlayStation 5 and on my computer. I don't really have too much stuff stored anywhere. I have like a couple Google Drives, but that's about it. Like until I see how it's gonna work for me, that's different. I can see how this could be used for companies and stuff, but I don't have my own company, so it doesn't really do me any good there. So yeah, like I think it's exciting and I think it's cool, but until I see the application being used everywhere, there's less to be excited about. I think as soon as
more like a Dropbox.
As soon as there's a phone app for it, that's your winner.
That is where it's at now. Yeah, that is where everything's at. Is everybody? It needs to be usable with one appendage, one thumb, one opposable thumb.
Was it our bandwidth limitation?
Our bandwidth limitation. Yeah, our input.
I don't think it's that necessarily. It needs to be on a phone or a tablet, because think about how I pay for things.
Yeah.
Right. It's always on a phone or a tablet or something like that. A small, easy to use, transportable device that doesn't take up a lot of room. My computer takes up a lot of room on a desk.
That can authorize a payment to the network to store a piece of data, kind of thing, without having to go pull your hardware wallet out and put in your PIN and connect it with a USB cable and sign into your thing and do the bloop and the bleep and the blop and then poof. It needs to be seamless, is what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Until it's easy to use, because that's what we have enough shit going on in our lives that we want things to be easy to use, right? That's why there's whole fucking degrees on just user experience.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why you have degrees. Yeah. That's why you have like, well, that's
a whole job is the UX guy. Here's this shit. Now shove it into an easy to use box, please.
Yeah. How do I make this easier for my customer to click around and to navigate and find out? How do I get somebody to pretend to be a customer?
They'll find a way to make it hard somehow still.
Yeah.
I've had people ask me if they should click English before. So
when they make it,
some people you just can't help.
Yeah. And that's the reality of it. So
yeah. Thanks for bringing us back down to reality.
There you go.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
cool.
depressing here.
I think that's going to be our short conversation on video games, communication, and cocktails for today.
Yep. It's typical
was a
coffee
good-
with Den.
That was a good combo. Yeah,
How
and
many
then
morning episodes we got left?
well, July basically,
Hell yeah.
and then August is going to not be a thing because I'll be in Europe, and then I'll be relocating within the U.S. And then September we can start coffee with Den with beer or something.
Are you
with whatever?
When you were relocating, are you paying somebody to move a bunch of crap, or do I need to ride up and give you a hand?
Well, I was gonna, but now I'm doing it myself because I need to save some money because my dog tore her ligament again, and that's that's an enormously expensive surgery to get her back to good again.
Okay?
She's not in pain. One of her legs just doesn't work anymore. It's an old injury that's already been operated on, and it was already a synthetic ligament, and that's what tore. And she has no pain.
Okay.
She has no pain. She just doesn't. Yeah, she still doesn't. She doesn't understand why. It just doesn't work.
So she just looks hilarious.
She's fine. She's just like a pogo stick because one of her back legs don't work, and she pogos around.
Poor Daedra.
No, I'm gonna be moving. I'm gonna be packing up a U-Haul and moving. We probably got it, but I'll let you know if we need some. I mean, definitely for. Oh, I got a box started for you, by the way, of stuff. Some of it at least can be used for your shop, or you can sell it, or you can get like whatever. But there's some. I got some cool stuff.
I got you if you need help moving crap into a truck. That's no biggie. And I'm also not opposed to riding up and helping unpack. So let me know.
All right, cool. John, thanks again, man. I'd have you over to help me pack too, but you're not here, and
I can help virtually.
Yeah, moral support.
Yeah, we can get him. We can get him on a little call, and he can.
You can make us some. You can get some moving drink recipes, some cocktails.
Oh yeah, get some cocktails.
I'll send my dad to come help. How about
something that doesn't make you sleepy, that can keep you. Some of your espresso cocktails, like you were talking about, to keep us amped up, but also having a good time packing the truck.
Exactly.
That would be a fucking shit show if your dad showed up to help.
He's mostly not helpful, but he's
also, so much fun.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, it's cool. Wednesday. I'll probably see him today.
I
will.
All right. Thanks for meeting back up again. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks Bad Hair Club and I Am for I Am. And go say stuff on Den. We like that. Here's a song from Y'all Weird called Enter the Dragon.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best. Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So with for all detachable from the mandible, you